There's no question that Canada is in the middle of a housing crisis.
People come out carrying staples, but some say they're delaying payments from electric bills to credit cards.
There were serious issues with Canada's healthcare system. Then throw in a couple of years of high stress, non-stop work, add burnout and high turnover to the mix, and what were issues have become critical problems.
Canada was supposed to be the safe choice. Not perfect, just fair. Not rich, just stable. For decades, Canada built a quiet promise. If you worked hard, followed the rules, and played your part, life here would make sense. And for a long time, it did. People bought homes on single incomes. They raised families without constant financial fear. They trusted that tomorrow would be manageable. But today, something feels fundamentally wrong. Not suddenly, not loudly, just heavy. And across the country, millions of Canadians are asking the same question. How did living here become so difficult?
I was skipping meals because I was struggling to afford my food and my rent.
Because Canada is broken. Our kindness and generosity has given way to naivety and weakness.
When housing stopped being shelter, housing is not just another expense. It is the foundation of stability. When housing fails, everything else collapses. Canada underbuilt homes for decades, while population growth continued. At the same time, housing became an investment strategy. Homes stopped being places to live and became vehicles for profit. Rent used to rise slowly. Now it rises faster than paychecks. In many cities, rent has doubled in less than a decade, while wages barely moved. For renters, stability has disappeared.
2 million Canadians had to use the food bank in 1 month alone.
So my rent's going to be increased from $2,100 a month to $2,400 a month.
These stories are no longer rare. They are becoming the normal. Housing is considered affordable when it consumes less than 30% of income. Today, many Canadians spend half their income just to stay housed. Saving becomes impossible. Emergencies become disasters. Cost of living.
The skyrocketing cost of living.
Death by 1,000 cuts. Housing didn't rise alone. It pulled everything else up with it. Food, utilities, insurance, transportation. Life didn't become luxurious, it became tighter. Canadians now pay significantly more for basic food than they did just 5 years ago. Not because they're buying more, but because prices surged. Every grocery trip is a reminder. Your money buys less.
I was skipping meals because I was struggling to afford my food and my rent.
Canada has one of the highest tax burdens in North America. Income tax, sales tax, fuel taxes, carbon pricing. Taxes are meant to fund services. But as costs rose, services weakened. People are paying more and receiving less. Canada still claims universal health care. But universality means little without access. Millions of Canadians don't have a family doctor. Emergency rooms overflow. Patients wait in hallways.
There were serious issues with Canada's healthcare system. Then throw in a couple of years of high stress, non-stop work, add burnout and high turnover to the mix, and what were issues have become critical problems.
Education without security.
Schools right across Canada are struggling with a shortage of teachers.
Education was sold as the escape route. Instead, it became another burden. Tuition rose. Housing near campuses disappeared. Degrees lost their guarantee. Young Canadians are starting adult life already behind. Catching up feels impossible. Education was once the great equalizer in Canada. It was supposed to be the bridge between background and opportunity. For decades, that promise held. A degree meant access. Access meant stability. But today, education no longer guarantees anything beyond survival. Tuition fees have climbed steadily for years. At the same time, the cost of living near campuses has exploded. Students are no longer worried about grades alone. They're worried about rent, food, and whether they'll still be housed by the end of the semester. Many work multiple jobs while studying full-time. Sleep becomes optional. Burnout becomes normal. a generation on hold.
Doctors have been warning for weeks of the overwhelming pressure on children's hospitals. This week, British Columbia reported 5 influenza-related deaths in children in November alone.
Canada is now home to a generation stuck in limbo. Not lazy, not irresponsible, just paused. Marriage is delayed. Children are delayed. Home ownership is abandoned entirely. Not because young Canadians don't want these things, but because they can't afford them. Life milestones that once arrived naturally are now postponed indefinitely. And postponement has consequences. Home ownership among Canadians under 40 has collapsed. This isn't preference, it's exclusion. When people can't put down roots, communities weaken, stability disappears. Long-term planning becomes impossible. A society built on temporary living becomes fragile. Debt, the illusion of coping.
Canada is sailing through a sea of federal debt, around $761 billion.
As costs rose, Canadians did what they always do in a crisis. They adapted. They borrowed. Credit cards replaced savings. Lines of credit replaced emergency funds. Mortgages stretched thinner and thinner. Debt became the quiet coping mechanism, a way to survive without confronting collapse. Today, Canadian households owe nearly $2 for every dollar they earn. That is not resilience. That is vulnerability. It means one interest rate hike, one job loss, one medical emergency can push families over the edge.
I was skipping meals because I was struggling to afford my food and my rent.
Found out my rent's gonna be increased from $2,100 a month to $2,400 a month.
Broccoli heads was $11.44. $11.44 at Save on Foods in Langley.
When debt becomes survival, collapse is only delayed, not prevented. The quiet exodus.
A new report is casting doubt on Canada's ability to retain highly skilled immigrants.
Canadians are leaving, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. Professionals, tradespeople, young families, they're not chasing luxury, they're chasing affordability. They're chasing futures that feel possible. When working-age citizens leave, the consequences compound. The tax base shrinks. Healthcare strains further. Housing pressure doesn't ease, it distorts. This isn't just brain drain, it's hope drain.
Look, what these data show us is that people who are clamoring for the immigration system to shrink for a supposed restoration.
When leaving feels like the only option, something fundamental has failed. Government time and a closing window.
When you talk about the housing crisis that we're facing, which we are facing,
governments acknowledge the crisis. Budgets promise solutions. Press conferences project confidence. But policy moves slowly. And crisis does not wait. Housing takes years to build. Healthcare workers take years to train. Trust takes decades to earn and seconds to lose. Canadians are running out of time. For years, population growth outpaced housing construction. The result was inevitable. Scarcity, competition, collapse. This wasn't a surprise. It was a slow-motion failure. The breaking point. Countries don't collapse with explosions. They erode. When shelter becomes a luxury. When work no longer guarantees stability. When planning a future feels irresponsible. That is the warning sign. Canada is there. Canada is not evil. It is not hopeless, but it is dangerously unbalanced. A country cannot survive when its people are permanently stressed, permanently indebted, permanently waiting. Living in Canada hasn't become impossible because people stopped trying. It has become impossible because the system stopped protecting them, produced by Global Reports. Subscribe for long-form investigations.